Go ahead, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to welcome everyone to today's program. Thank you so much for joining. It's a very, very important issue that hasn't received nearly enough attention in the 21st century, 2022. We think that human rights would be front and center considering the advancement of technology and all the resources we have at our fingertips to help advance the position of people and to really prevent things from occurring again. At a time when the world faces the specter of a new genocide, it is important to recognize the genocide of 1971, not just for posterity, but to prevent future such catastrophes from ever occurring again. The reason history repeats itself is because human beings forget it. For this reason and so many more, we are holding this important event today to remind everyone of the dark history that took place in 1971, 51 years tomorrow in Bangladesh. On the eve of March 25th, 1971, 60,000 Pakistani soldiers commenced the massacre of Bengali civilians in a planned undertaking codenamed Operation Searchlight. This was the beginning of a 9-month-long genocide that ended with the liberation of Bangladesh from Pakistan in December of 1971, that same year. It is believed that approximately 3 million people perished during that 9-month period, deeming it a genocide by any international standard. In today's press conference, we hope to sensitize the thought leadership in the United States to the cold, hard facts of this 1971 genocide that have remained largely unrecognized over the last 5 decades. Recognizing the 1971 genocide formally would really go a long way in promoting peace and stability in the Indo-Pacific region as a whole. It would also send a message that the United States truly cares about the rights of all people living in that region, regardless of nationality, race, ethnicity, or religion, and their rights to equally enjoy the benefits of democratic institutions, the rule of law, and economic opportunity. The Human Rights Congress for Bangladesh, known as HRCBM, would like to list out a set of demands for the global leadership to address the wrongs of 1971. Now I would like to turn your attention to a 3 to 4 minute video that highlights what took place during that horrific, dark period in 1971. One moment, please.
On the brink, how one would describe Bengali Hindus living in Bangladesh. 75 years of agony, it is a story of millions of subjugated people. After the Great Calcutta killings on the 16th of August 1946, the Muslims went on a rampage, killing 5,000 men, women, and children in Noakhali on October of 1946. The killings and pillaging of Hindu women, homes, and businesses continued for 1 month until Mahatma Gandhi visited Noakhali and stayed for 4 months in Noakhali to alleviate the pain of the victims. Attacks against the Hindus did not stop in East Pakistan, with the radical Islamists again going on a rampage, killing unarmed Hindu, Christian men, and elderly women in a series of massacres at the river port of Muladi between the 17th and 20th of February 1950. In this series of massacres, armed radical Islamist mobs went on rampaging against the active connivance of the Ansars and the police. In 1964, Abdus S. Khan, a Bengali Muslim who served as the minister of Ayub Khan's government of Pakistan, declared that he wanted to skin alive Hindus and make shoes out of it. What followed was the merciless killings of Hindus and gang raping of their women throughout the area then known as East Pakistan. The excuse for the 1964 killings of Hindus were that someone stole Prophet Muhammad's hair in Kashmir. Because of this, radical Islamists went on a rampage, killing Bengali Hindus and Garo indigenous people while pillaging their women, homes, and places of worship. The genocide in Bangladesh began on the 26th of March 1971 with the launch of Operation Searchlight, as West Pakistan began a military crackdown on the East Pakistan wing of the nation to suppress Bengali calls for self-determination. During the 9 months of the Liberation War, members of the Pakistan Armed Forces and supporting pro-Pakistani Islamist militias from Bangladesh Jamaat-e-Islami killed 3 million people and gang raped more than 400,000 women and girls. The onslaught of the Pakistani army and the radical Islamists was also intended to wipe out Bengali Hindus. The actions against women were supported by Pakistan's religious leaders who declared that Bengali Hindu women were Goni Motormal, which is Bengali for public property. As a result of the conflict, a further 8 to 10 million people, mostly Hindus, fled the country to seek refuge in neighboring India. The killing and pillaging of Hindus continues after the independence of Bangladesh.
Carry on.
Thank you. So yeah, thank you so much. That's a little brief synopsis of some of the brainwashing, the mentality, the ideology behind really lies that perpetrated one of the most horrific genocides in our modern day history. With that, I would like to now introduce our speakers for the day. Our first speaker is Dhiman Deb Chowdhury. Dhiman Deb Chowdhury is the president of the Human Rights Congress for Bangladesh Minorities, the HRCBM, a United Nations ECOSOC nonprofit organization. He's a technology thought leader, a research scholar of innovation, back that up, a research scholar of innovation, and a human rights defender. Dhiman has led HRCBM as a voice of religious minorities in Bangladesh, in both the United States and the UN. Dhiman, I'd like to now open up the floor to you for your remarks.
Thank you, Adele. So let me start with good morning and good afternoon, wherever you are. On the eve of Bengali Genocide Remembrance Day 2022 in Bangladesh, which is next Friday, this Friday, March 25th, I would like to highlight one of the world's largest genocide that is yet to be recognized. In 1971, Pakistani army and their cohorts killed nearly 3 million people and brutally gang raped more than 400,000 women and girls. Additionally, 10 million people were displaced and forced to take shelter in neighboring India. More than 30,000 women and girls who were brutally deflowered committed suicide immediately, and 175,000 women and girls received forced abortion. They were not accepted by the society and left to survive on their own. Archered blood, American Consul General in Dhaka at the time communicated the horror to US officials. Our government has failed to denounce the suppression of democracy. Our government has failed to denounce atrocities. Our government has evidenced what many will consider moral bankruptcy. Unfortunately, United States refused to respond because of Pakistan's status as Cold War ally. President Nixon, taking on a flippant and discriminatory attitude, regarded the genocide as a trivial matter, assuming a disinterested American public due to the race and religions of the victim. In 1972, International Commissions of Jurists published a report in which the organization concluded that a campaign of genocide involved in the discriminate killing of civilians, including women and children, and the poorest and the weakest members of the community, the attempt to exterminate or drive out of the country a large part of Hindu population, the arrest, torture, and killing of Awami League activists and students, professional businessmen, and other potential leaders among the Bengalis, the raping of women, destruction of villages and towns. But the Security Council, just to start back again, but apathy continues. Nobody has recognized the genocide. On June 3rd, 1971, U Pant, Secretary General of the United Nations, wrote to the President of the Security Council saying that happenings in East Pakistan continue to be one of the most tragic episodes in human history. Of course, it is for the future historian to gather facts and make their own evaluations, but it has been a very terrible blot on the page of human history. However, United Nations did not take his hint into cognizance, but the Security Council never took this seriously until in December 1971, when India joined the war in favor of Mukti Bahini, United Nations Security Council took the effort to consider a ceasefire to maintain the status quo, which was tantamount to letting the genocide continue. This is an apathy, and that apathy continues till today. And one of the world's largest genocide got hidden in the page of history. And why it's happening? In the politics of genocide scholarship, the case of Bangladesh, written by Donald W. Batchelor, compared 1971, the case of Bangladesh in 1971 and the genocide of Cambodia. He considered that because of the political interest of United States, Bangladesh genocide never considered important. Whereas from the very beginning, when Cambodian genocide happened in 1975, from the very beginning, the world, the West attention was there, whether or not a genocide was committed by Khmer Rouge when he came to the power. Yet, despite knowing everything is happening, from the then Consul General of United States, who wrote to the President Nixon, no interest has been shown to this. And this apathy continues till today. However, this apathy we can change. We can collectively work on it. And therefore, we appeal to the world community to recognize 1971 Bangladesh genocide. We have also created a draft on the said appeal for US Congress to consider, and hereby requesting bipartisan support for the bill. Additionally, we appeal to the United Nations to recognize the 1971 genocide and accordingly hold Pakistan accountable for its war crime through international tribunal. I appreciate your taking the time to attend this press conference, and thank you. Back to you. Adela, you are on mute.
Thank you so much for that, Mr. Chowdhury. That was very, very informative, and we appreciate everything that you're doing to raise awareness and bring justice finally, which will hopefully arrive soon internationally. As Mr. Chowdhury noted, the 1971 genocide has yet to be formally recognized by the United States or the UN. However, on January 1st of this year, 2022, the Lemkin Institute did formally recognize the 1971 genocide. Unfortunately, the Lemkin Institute was unable to attend today, but in their absence, they have prepared remarks for today's audience. The following remarks are from Elisa von Joden Forgi, who is the endowed chair for the Department of Holocaust and Genocide Studies at Keene State College and a co-founder and co-president of the Lemkin Institute, and Irene Victoria Massimo, also a co-founder and co-president of the Lemkin Institute. And she is an international human rights lawyer, a professor as well, who has served as the rapporteur of the High Criminal Court of Buenos Aires province in Argentina. The following are their joint remarks from the Lemkin Institute. We at the Lemkin Institute wish to extend our apologies that we cannot be there with you today. Despite our absence, we want to underscore our commitment to all Bangladeshis to work for the global recognition of the 1971 genocide. We believe that recognition of past genocide is critical to the cause of social justice, sustainable peace, and the prevention of future genocides. The 1971 genocide against Bengalis demonstrates that genocide is a long-term process of identity destruction. In Bangladesh, it began right after British India's partition along religious lines. Although East Pakistan, as Bangladesh was then called, was given to West Pakistan because the majority of people in East Pakistan were Muslim, West Pakistan almost immediately imposed measures aimed at undermining East Pakistan's national identity. That is, a Bengali national identity. The mass killing and mass rape of 1971 was an extension of this hostility towards the Bengali nation, a hostility that was also expressed in religious terms against Hindus and other minorities. West Pakistan authorities targeted Bengali Hindus and believed that even Bengali Muslims were too influenced by Hinduism to be true Muslims. The destruction of the Bengali nation and the destruction of the Hindu members of that nation were overlapping parts of a complex and devastating genocidal process. We hope that growing global recognition of this case of genocide will lead to open discussions of a peaceful path forward in the region for Hindus, Muslims, and all other faiths. Since genocide prevention is our core mission, the Lemkin Institute dedicates itself to helping to foster a climate of positive peace and a roadmap towards sustainable coexistence. Sincerely yours, Elisa von Joden Forgi and Victoria Massimo. Thank you so much to the Lemkin Institute for that very powerful message. And we look forward to hopefully more progress being made in this arena. I would now like to take us to our second speaker, last but not least, Priya Saha. Priya Saha is a human rights defender from Bangladesh. She and her family faced atrocities at the hands of the Pakistan Army in 1971 and were forced to walk for weeks to the safety of refugee camps in India. She is the founder and executive director of Sharee, that's SHAREE, a nonprofit that works for the upliftment of downtrodden communities in Bangladesh. Currently based in Washington, D.C., she is the executive director of Human Rights Congress for Bangladesh Minorities, HRCBM, and the convener of South Asia Minorities Collective. Priya, Didi, if you would like to please, we'd love to have you deliver your remarks as well.
Good afternoon, distinguished journalists and respectable ladies and gentlemen who are here hearing now and will watch this press conference later. On the night of March 25th, 1971, the Pakistani army launched Operation Searchlight and murdered 60 to 70,000 of university teachers, students, devotee of Hindu temple, office bearer of university, Hindu community, police, BDR. All this happened in a single night. Target of the Operation Searchlight include Jagannath Hall, which was a dormitory for non-Muslim students of Dhaka University, Rajarbagh Police Line, and Pilkhana, which is the headquarters of East Pakistan Rifles. Neighborhoods of Old Dhaka, Shakhari Bazar, Tati Bazar, Lokhi Bazar, Gandaria, which had a majority Hindu population, were also attacked. Ramna Kali temple was demolished by Pakistani army on the same day of the March 25th, 1971. At a meeting on February 22nd, 1971, the President of Pakistan, General Yahya Khan, is recorded as saying to his top military brass, "Kill 3 million of them and rest will eat out of our hands." The killing and pillaging started soon after and lasted 9 months. There is only one word for this genocide. London Times, the Sunday Times of London in June 13, 1971, they published a news. The intention of the East Pakistan was for East Pakistan, Bengal was split out to me in the Eastern Command headquarters at Dhaka. It has 3 elements. Elements number 1, the Bengali have proved themselves unreliable and must be ruled by the West Pakistan. The Bengali will have to be re-educated along proper Islamic lines, the Islamization of the masses. This is official jargon. Is intent to eliminate secessionist tendencies and provide a strong religious bond with West Pakistan. Continue. When the Hindu have been eliminated by death and fight, their property will be used as a golden carrot to win over underprivileged Muslim middle class. This will provide the base of erecting administrative and political structure in the future. The New York Times published this news on July 4, 1971. The Hindu are the target of the army terror in East Pakistan town. It's a detailed report on New York Times. A confession of Pakistani soldier. We were told to kill Hindus and Kafirs, the non-believer in God. On day in June, we cordoned a village and were ordered to kill the Kafirs in the area. We found all the village women reciting from the Holy Quran and the men holding special congregational prayers, seeking God's mercy, but they were unlucky. Our commanding officer ordered us not to waste time because, they were the Hindu people. They were just converting themselves. They were reciting Quran and praying to save their life. But this conversion cannot save their lives. It is documented that 90% of 10 million refugees who took shelter in India were Bengali Hindus and other non-Muslim populations. Additionally, 70 to 80% of 3 million people that were killed by the Pakistani army were Bengali Hindus. Whereas in May 1971, Australian doctor Jeffrey David was brought to Dhaka by the United Nations to assist with late-term abortion of raped women. At the end of the war, he believed the estimated figure for the number of Bengali women who were raped, 200,000 to 400,000, was probably too low. The goal of the press conference is to inform the world about the genocide of 1971 and war crime committed by the Pakistani army during Bangladesh independence movement. To get recognition of 1971 Bangladesh genocide from USA, Congress, European Parliament, all other countries, and international tribunal under the United Nations to hold Pakistan accountable for war crime 1971. Formal apology from government of Pakistan and compensation thereof to the victims. There is you can see the war criminal, 195 war criminal, Pakistani army war criminal. Still many of them are alive. Many of them are living in USA. So that's why I put their picture and information. So they need to be accountable in the law of this land. Bangladesh observed the 25th March as a Bangladesh Genocide Remembrance Day. My humble request to all media personnel to highlight this day and publish this heinous crime against humanity, recognizing 1971 Bangladesh Genocide in your esteemed media. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Priya, for that wonderful, very, very important presentation that you also gave. I'd now like to please open up the floor for several Q&As for the audience. If you have any questions, please go ahead and submit them to me or the moderator in the chat box, and you can raise your virtual hand. And if you wouldn't mind also stating your name and the media organization that you belong to before asking the questions, we would greatly appreciate it. Just to note also, participants may also submit their questions via Twitter and Facebook, where this event is being live cast. I'm going to give it a few moments here just to allow for some of the questions to come through, and also check social media to make sure we don't have anything that I've missed. Okay. So for the first question, it's coming from the India Post, and it is coming out of Houston. And this question is for you, Diman. The question is, have you approached Congressman Ro Khanna and Congressman Jeffrey Hakeems, both Democrats? Ro Khanna is from California, Jeffrey Hakeems is from New York. They have large Bangladeshi constituents and may do something if educated properly on this matter?
Yeah, we have reached out to them, specifically Jeffrey Hakeem, and we reached out to his office as well, and we talked with his assistant, but we couldn't get his sponsorship, and the same goes with Ro Khanna as well. And we are still trying, so that's why we are looking for alternative Democrat and Republican congressmen or congresswomen who can able to sponsor this. But we are requesting for bipartisan support on this. You are on mute, Italy.
Thank you. And out of curiosity, have you noticed that there's been more support from the Democrats, Republicans? Has it been equal on both sides? More of a response from one side or the other, or is it kind of just equal and it's a matter of, I guess, who has a greater number of constituents hailing from Bangladesh?
We see some interest, but Ms. Priya Shah has been also involved on this. She has been working on this bill for a long time, along with Ushav and other people. She can also jump. Ms. Shah, please jump in to add your comments as well. We see some interest. We see them reading through this, but sponsoring is what is required, and that is what is missing. It requires some passion in there to understand. Maybe education is more important, right? And that is required. We need to start educating more and more congressmen, congresswomen, media as well, and then collectively, perhaps there would be some better response in this. Ms. Shah, you want to add something?
Yes.
Yes, we are working with different congressmen and their office. Dimandar told already, but at this present, we are working with Kausi Mukme office in Maryland, District 7, and with his office. And they are very interested. They are, they put this resolution, the draft resolution, in the committee, the legislative council. So this legislative council, we are looking, anybody pick from this legislative council website. If they pick, that will be a great initiative. And we are working also with a different congressmen in from different district and New York, also in California, also in Florida. I had meeting in Florida, 3 congressman office, and they are looking how they can positively respond, sponsor this resolution. So at least we reached 7 congressmen already commemorated this 25th genocide. You know that, and more than 11% we reached the congressman. And I had a meeting with Virginia state level congressman and senator. They are agreed to work in the state level in the Virginia state. So we are working every time, and every day we are reaching more people, and people are very positive. But it takes some time to get their support. And through this press conference, we are requesting all of them be with us. And one thing I want to just share with you, we didn't start, it's not a very long time. We started, like 14 months or 15 months to get this recognition process. And by this time, many people we reached, and we are mobilizing, and people are joining with us. And the genocide was already recognized, this Bangladesh Genocide 1971, and Lemkin Institute already recognized. And we are also working with other organizations to get recognition from organization level, state level, and county level, and the Congress level. We are trying all levels to get this recognition, and preparing, building awareness of the people. That is the main work, and publishing different articles in the media. So in that way, we are reaching people, and people are very positive. We are hopeful. We will get recognition shortly.
Thank you, Priya Shahad. I appreciate it. That's absolutely what you're saying is the way to do it. Being able to do it at every single level, because the more people know about it, the more likely it is to get recognition faster. The next question that we have comes from Abhishek Bhacharia from Meyer Duck in New Jersey. And his question is, has this case been taken to the International Criminal Court? And how many Pakistani perpetrators are still alive after 51 years? Whoever would like to answer that question.
So I can comment on this. I contacted not only International Criminal Court. In fact, in 1992, I approached to International Court of Justice. As you know, International Court of Justice, you cannot individually go there. A state need to go in there. they didn't mention that whether or not Bangladesh went in there, but Bangladesh didn't, perhaps to the International Court of Justice. So in terms of International Criminal Court, as you know, International Criminal Court was started in 2000, around 2000, 2002. And although Bangladesh is a signatory at that time, Pakistan was not a signatory. So their jurisdiction does not come to this 1971 genocide. Whereas it is under United Nations International Tribunal, like they have done for Rwanda, they have done for Yugoslavia, right? This international tribunal need to happen by the United Nations, invoking the Convention of Genocide, which United Nations has not done it. As I mentioned in my presentation, it was being written by U10, then Secretary General to the United Nations. He raised this to the Security Council, but it was vetoed down. And in fact, when India came in 1971, in December, month of December, the Security Council asked for a status quo, meaning that let the genocide continue, India, you hold back, right? That was the Cold War era. So it didn't go anywhere, and United Nations. And so if there is one organization that can do something right now, that would be United Nations, apart from US Congress, US recognition, United Nations to step forward and truly invoke its Convention of Genocide and apply to 1971 and hold Pakistan responsible for that criminal and create the similar way. Why there is an apathy on this? Why one of the largest genocide, 3 million people, even the Holocaust was not that big. It was a million people. 3 million people is a large number of people, yet
Holocaust,
it has not.
sorry, I'm going to add the Holocaust was actually 6 million Jewish people, and then it was also like no, but still anything to that scale. I mean, even right now in Syria, over 1 million people have been killed, right? And it's like that's a genocide too. But 3 million people, for it to go this long without being recognized as genocide, it's atrocious.
Yeah, yeah, and the tribunal happened for Rwanda, tribunal happened for Yugoslavia, and other genocide as well. But there is no tribunal for 1971, and United Nations should impartially investigate this and impartially implement its own instrument. It's not outside instrument, it's the instrument of Genocide Convention. They need to apply. And if there is a clear cut, and you have seen on both presentations that there are documental proof that the tools of annihilation, the killing was used and gang rape was used to annihilate the communities, right, in Bangladesh. And it is a proven fact. Now, there has not been so much scholarly contribution, but ample scholarly contribution are there that can be taken into cognizance, taken into context, and the facts are there, right? There are documents also have Bangladesh government has collected, India also collected. Those documents need to come out, and US government, State Department also need to disclose that times what happened in there. They also have that document. They received it from Pakistan government. Based on all this, judgment can be made. An international tribunal can happen. That
Absolutely.
would be the, yeah.
Thank you so much. Priya, did you want to also add to that?
Yes, add on thing, day before yesterday, the US State Department, the Blinken recognized the Rohingya genocide, and I appreciate that. And the same land, same area, we need to get recognition from them because it's very crucial. Yeah, I'm not underscoring the Rohingya genocide, but they got recognition. There are not, if you go to the person, it's all media is 24,000, but the Bengali genocide in 1971, if you go to the, through the census report of 1961, and if you, this population that 1974, the Hindu population was missing from 61 to 74 is 3.8 million. And Indian refugee record are showing from 1961 to 1970, they received 1.11 million refugees. So it is easily proved through this census document of Bangladesh government, 2.7 million Hindu people were killed during the 1970 war. It's a documental proof through the census document and the refugee document.
Thank you for that. I also want to point out that I believe it was in February of last year, 2021, that a unanimous decision by the 3-member International Crimes Tribunal of Bangladesh. Three people were sentenced and imprisoned until death, and 5 were sentenced to 20 years in prison. 1 was acquitted for the 1971 what we're going to call genocide for what it is, but definitely more has to be done. And that takes us to our next question, actually, which comes from Jamie Salazar from CASA in Virginia. And Jamie's asking, countries around the world that commit this scale of violence usually face sanctions under the Magnitsky Act in modern times. Did any Pakistani leadership face any sanctions under the Magnitsky Global Act on this issue?
No, it has not even been invoked. It would be invoked when you denounce something. US government formally has not denounced Pakistan atrocities in Bangladesh. So Magnitsky Act does not apply. Once you denounce it, then you can invoke that act. So that's the reason we are requesting a US congressman bipartisanly to support the bill that we are requesting their support. And once that bill comes in and it's supported and it is approved, at that point, US government can, or still government can denounce it. The West Pakistan's army's involvement in this genocide, if they denounce it, and then at that point, that law can be enacted and judgment can be done.
Thank you. I'd like to now ask another question. It's from Aslam Siddiq for Pakistan Live out of Houston. And Aslam is asking, what efforts have been made by the government of Bangladesh on this? And do you really think that under the current circumstances with the war in Europe, that this issue will get any traction?
Ms. Priya, you want to talk about Bangladesh government's initiative? So far, I don't know much about that degree, what they have, whether or not they went to International Criminal Court. Recently, the tribunal that they have done, it's locally significant. The International Tribunal, so Bangladesh has done to kind of punish some of the leaders, but it did not extend it to all the cohorts of Pakistani army that are residing currently in Bangladesh. And as Ms. Priya Shah mentioned, 149 Pakistani generals or Pakistani army leaders are still abroad, some of them in the US, but none of them has been inducted so far. So Ms. Shah, you want to add further to that?
Yes, that's a very interesting question. Bangladesh government, up to 2011, in Bangladesh government, they were not able to punish within the Bangladesh, the war criminal. Now, 2011, they started a court, ICT court, and declared 25th as a genocide day, and they tried many war criminal, and they 7 got capital punishment and it's also executed, and many of them get capital punishment, and the trial is going on. So Bangladesh government is doing the war criminal, the trial is going on within this country, and our Prime Minister, she told before 2-3 years in United Nations, Pakistan have to apologize, and they did the war crime. And she told in the United Nations in the session as the Prime Minister of Bangladesh. So government trying, but I do not know still they file a case or not. But in this time, this is the right time when people are talking, the genocide is taking place in Europe. So people know what is the pain of this genocide. It is alive. So we need, and people through this recognition, this European, the criminal, those people are killing these innocent people. They will think twice. If we continue this crime, sometime we will face the consequences. Okay, so this is the right time to get recognition, and this genocide 1971. Through this recognition, there will the European, the killing, the present killing process will get a strong message, and it will have a positive impact. So that is my information from my side.
Yeah, so I'll just add to this, and I take this opportunity to appeal media as well as if anybody from Bangladesh government watching this, Bangladesh government should go to International Court of Justice, use this, even today is the Remembrance Day for this genocide. They can even go there in the International Court of Justice and request for an evaluation of the genocide and submit that application. If that so far I have searched everywhere, I have not seen that. Generally, if court has received something, the court will do some investigation, and that would be listed in there. Whether or not they discounted it or not, that's a different fact. But the request, I doubt that request has been made. And as I said, United Nations need to relook into their own definition of genocide, because if you cannot implement current convention, what is it there for? It has to be impartially, equally applicable to everybody, irrespective of which country, which race, and which religion. And it's not happening. The impartial implementation of genocide convention is not happening. And that would be an appeal from us to the United Nations as well.
Thank you. So according to both of you, then right now, despite the fact that there's a war going on in Europe between Russia and Ukraine right now, that should not distract from this. In fact, you believe that it's time to push forward even more strongly, because it's another potential genocide could be looming there too. So thank you for your feedback. I just want to point out too, if I may, before the final question, according to the convention, the UN convention, genocide is a crime that can take place in both times of war as well as in time of peace. The definition contained in Article 2 of the convention describes genocide as, quote, a crime committed with the intent to destroy a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group in whole or in part. There's really no way of mincing words with that. That's clearly what happened in Bangladesh. And thank you for Diman for pointing out that the UN should revisit their definition, because it applies to what happened in 1971. And thank you to the Lemkin Institute as well. I wanted to get to our final question for today. It comes from Amit Chandra of Hindu News Network. President Biden belongs to the same party as Senator Ted Kennedy, Democrat Party, who brought this issue so much visibility in 1972. This week, President Biden called out Vladimir Putin for genocide in Ukraine. Has HRCBM brought this to the attention of the White House?
No. I have not directly written to them. Ms. Priya Shah may have, through the congressman, tried to approach that. But we perhaps need to approach this strongly as well, right? You want to add, Ms. Shah?
We did not write yet to the president or vice president or the State Department. We are working through the Foreign Relations Committee and through congressmen. So, it goes to the Foreign Relations Committee, the formal way to get recognition through the US Congress. So we are going formally. We draft a resolution and sending different congressmen and having meeting, and they are working. And it's a very good question and suggestion. We will follow it. We will do what we can. And thank you for your suggestion.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I just want to take a moment now to thank Diman Chaudhuri, Priya Shaha, to thank the Lemkin Institute, and to thank Utsav Chakrabarti for this as well, the moderator, and just to really thank everyone who took the time to attend and to really take interest in this critically important issue. We look forward to having the 1971 genocide recognized formally, as it should be, and hope that this will arrive swiftly for the sake of justice and to prevent any future genocides from taking place in the future. Anyone else like to add anything? Closing remarks?
No, thank you, Adley. That was very eloquent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for everything you're doing.
Yeah, obliged.